What happens when you're the odd kid who can actually talk to animals, and your only true friend in the world turns out to be a dog? Our story kicks off with our guy Jiro. After coming home from school, he's totally fed up because he got into another fight with the local kids. They'd been teasing him, calling him a lunatic who talks to animals. His dog, Nachi, comforts him, telling him not to beat himself up because none of them are ever going to understand him anyway. Nachi tells him that being different is actually a great thing, even if not everyone loves him for it. As the picture clears up, we realize Nachi is actually a dog, and Jiro was just venting to him about his day. Nachi tells him that when he grows up, he'll realize just how special his gift really is. So my legendary friends, let's dive into a whole new world alongside our main hero, Jiro. Flash forward, Jiro is now 20 years old. He's standing under a bridge with 3 tough guys who are picking a fight because he's trying to kick them out of the neighborhood. One punk yells, asking if Jiro even knows who his dad is, claiming he runs this whole turf. But Jiro couldn't care less and handles them with total cold-blooded calm. One guy loses his cool and lunges, but Jiro moves like lightning and dumps him right into the water, cracking that a quick dip might cool him off. Seeing the other 2 waiting their turn, Jiro tells them to hurry it up so they can wrap this story up. He keeps provoking them until they charge, giving them an absolute beatdown and throwing them into the water too. It turns out Jiro started this whole brawl just for a stray cat. The cat purrs, thanking Jiro and saying he doesn't know how they'd survive without him after those trashy kids have been messing with them all day. The cat warns him that the gang will be furious and will hunt him down, but Jiro tells him not to sweat it because he's used to this nonsensical drama. A crow perches on his head and squawks that nobody can touch him, teasing that Jiro looks like he wants to be a big-time gang boss himself. Jiro gives them one last warning, telling them to make sure none of them go eating out of the trash. The moment he gets back home, he gets into a massive argument with his grandfather because Jiro comes home every single day with 3 or 4 fresh bruises. His grandfather had been training him in secret Shinobi martial arts, but Jiro only uses it to beat up street thugs and mobsters. Jiro shouts at his granddad, asking what the point of this Shinobi stuff is anyway. Losing his temper, the grandfather hurls Shinobi knives right at him, yelling that these ninja skills are his true heritage from the Azuma family, pulling out the sacred Shibubagetsu sword inherited from his father. We learn his lineage traces back to the shogun. Looks like they might actually be relatives of our man Gabamara from Hell's Paradise. His granddad is furious that Jiro doesn't respect their family history, shouting that he ought to act like a true member of the Azuma family. But Jiro scoffs, telling him the sword is fake plastic and that his dad was just pulling his leg. Enraged, the grandfather unsheathes the blade and shatters half the house. Jiro assumes the old man has finally lost his mind completely and starts cleaning up the mess. A bit later, the grandfather heads out, letting Jiro know he'll be back late tonight and warning him not to leave the front door open. Suddenly, Jiro is startled when the crow flies back in, screeching loudly that there's a cat in trouble deep in the forest. Jiro sprints at top speed until he reaches the spot. Deep in the woods, he discovers a black cat lying on the ground, soaked in its own blood. Getting closer, he notices it's barely breathing. The crow mentions he'd been screaming in the cat's ear, but got no response whatsoever. Noticing the severe wounds covering the cat's body, Jiro decides to take it home to patch it up himself. Meanwhile, the cat is trapped in a deep coma, hearing a faint voice calling out from afar. We discover his real name is Rago, the Black Star of Ruin. A mysterious power reaches out to wake his spirit from the coma, and Rago's inner soul snarls that if he wakes up right now, he's going to make him regret this. When the cat finally snaps back to consciousness, he finds himself in an unfamiliar room. Jiro walks in holding a bowl of water, saying his condition was pretty rough today, but he turned out to be one tough little feline for fighting through the pain. Jiro tries to introduce himself, but the cat gives him zero reaction, secretly thinking Jiro is just a foolish kid acting like he can actually understand cat language. Jiro snaps, calling him a black-furred stray and threatening to grab him and turn his tail into a pair of socks. Rago is utterly stunned. He can't believe this human actually understands every word. Terrified, he scrambles under the bed, completely unable to process what's happening. Jiro laughs, telling the coward to come out, knowing this is likely the cat's first time ever talking to a human. He adds that he knows it's weird, but he'll get used to it, telling him to come out because he's not going to eat him. Rago senses no spiritual energy emanating from Jiro, confirming he's just a normal human human, though he remains suspicious. Seeing that talking isn't working, Jiro decides to use his secret weapon. Rago stubbornly thinks he's not coming out even if Jiro brings a knife, but the moment he smells food, he rushes out like a hungry stray. Jiro chuckles, noting that he turned out to be a helpless little kitty after all. Rago replies that the fastest way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Jiro pokes fun at him for acting human, so Rago introduces his true identity. He's actually a monster from the Mononoke clan. Jiro assumes Mononoke is just his nickname, but Rago explains that they are a clan of spiritual beasts capable of taking on human or animal forms. They live unnoticed right among humans, while others dwell deep in hidden forests or high in the mountains. Jiro asks how a Mononoke like him ended up in a dump like this. Rago realizes Jiro is hopelessly naive and completely clueless about the dangerous world he just stumbled into. Jiro prompts him to spill it or say if the topic is forbidden taboo in his world. Rago admits he doesn't fully remember what happened because he was sealed in a deep slumber for a very long time. The moment he woke up, he found himself ambushed and hunted because he had refused to lend them his power earlier. Jiro realizes they ganged up on him and beat him black and blue. Still confused, Jiro asks why he refused to help them if they were Mononoke like him. Rago confesses he despises his own clan, viewing them as mere parasites who pretend to be majestic while hiding their true weakness behind evil crimes. Rago assumes a simple human like Jiro won't believe a word of it, but Jiro responds that he doesn't get half of his babbling, but that doesn't mean he thinks he's lying. Besides, he asks if Rago forgot that he talks to animals every day, asserting he's definitely not scared of a Mononoke cat. Rago sighs, telling him his brain is completely loose. Meanwhile, back in the forest, a girl named Ichika appears. Her commander, Shiba, communicates with her through an earpiece, asking if she's found anything at the scene. Ichika reaches the crash site but finds no body, only blood splatters on the ground. She confirms the blood belongs to Rago, sensing a lingering parasitic energy, meaning Rago must be nearby. Shiba orders the search team to pull back for now, but Ichika gets annoyed that he still doesn't trust her to handle the mission solo. Suddenly, she vanishes like a ghost just as a shadowy figure watches her from the trees. Who are these people, and what do they want with Rago? On the other side of town, Jiro is giving Rago a bath in a tub, realizing Rago really isn't an ordinary cat. Rago groans that it feels like he was talking to himself, reminding Jiro that he told him he wasn't a normal cat. Jiro replies that he believes half of what he says, but the rest sounds like wild movie nonsense. Jiro mentions that this situation reminds him of his old dog, Nachi. Rago learns about Nachi and notes how she was the total opposite of Jiro in every way. Back then, Jiro was constantly bullied at school, coming home beaten up and covered in mud every day. Nachi was always upset that he wouldn't fight back, but she loved him more than anyone. She used to ask who would protect her every day if he wasn't there. That was the moment Jiro knew he had to use his unique gifts to help people. Rago senses something genuinely unique about the boy, but before he can say a word, Jiro suddenly splashes him with a bucket of water. That night, while Jiro is fast asleep, Rago gazes at him, whispering that he owes him his life. Deciding it's best to leave, Rago sneaks out through the window. But the second his paws hit the ground, a sharp pain shoots through his body. His wounds have healed, but his true strength hasn't returned. He tries to slip away quietly, only to freeze as Jiro's voice calls out right behind him. Jiro asks where he's sneaking off to in the middle of the night, telling him to keep his voice down because people are sleeping. Rago is baffled. How did he hear him coming while fast asleep? Jiro scolds him for wandering off in his condition. Rago snaps back that it's none of his business, but Jiro gets angry, asking if he's lost his mind after he saved his life, protected him, and scrubbed him clean. Rago arrogantly fires back that he never asked for help, stating he would have been fine dying right there in the forest. Frustrated by Rago's riddles, Jiro shouts at him to stop talking nonsense, saying that even if he doesn't know his full backstory, he won't let him talk about death like that. Suddenly, Rago's demeanor shifts darkly, warning Jiro that if he talks like that again, he'll tear his face off. He tells him he is a Mononoke who eats human flesh, asserting they belong to two completely different worlds that will never get along, ordering Jiro to get away from him before he kills him. Out of nowhere, a massive figure crashes into the yard, booming that he wants to play with them. It's one of the Mononoke hunting Rago. Seeing the giant monster, Jiro yells, asking how he breaks into someone's house without knocking and telling him to get out with his smashed face. The creature laughs, calling him a foolish human who knows nothing, before transforming into a terrifying beast and striking Jiro with massive claws. Rago darts forward instantly, blocking the deadly blow. Fighting off the monster, Rago yells at Jiro that they're from different worlds and orders him to get out of there before he dies. Instead, Jiro's temper flares up, and he refuses to run. Rago sprints into the woods to lead the beast away, leaping up a high tree to set up a counterattack. Knowing Rago is weakened, the monster corners him with a brutal strike, mocking if this legendary black star of ruin has really grown this pathetic. Rago bristles with rage, searching for an opening. The beast sneers, telling him to come quietly since they put a lot of effort into breaking the seal that bound him. It turns out they were once allies long ago. Rago spits back, calling him a backstabber who just wants to steal his power, telling him to come and take it if he wants it so bad. As both beasts clash violently, Jiro suddenly swoops out of nowhere from midair, leaping down with his sword and striking hard against the boar monster's armor. Rago can't believe his eyes, asking what he's doing there. Jiro shouts that if Rago dies now, saving him earlier was a complete waste of time. Rago screams that this isn't a street fight, as the beast loses its composure and transforms into its ultimate, monstrous form. Jiro rolls up his sleeves, bracing for battle. He tells Rago that when he helps someone, he sticks with them till the very end, adding that even if Rago runs, this giant gorilla will just kill him and come after Jiro next. The towering beast chuckles, calling the human smart and noticing Jiro isn't intimidated at all. Recognizing Jiro's elite moves, the beast realizes he's from the legendary Shinobi clan. The beast lunges at insane speed. Jiro dodges, but the monster anticipates his trick, driving its sharp claws deep into Jiro's body. He tells Jiro he got overconfident and that ninja tricks won't work on him, ordering him to give up so he doesn't suffer a more painful death. Jiro breaks free, but he's bleeding heavily from a horrific wound. Rago rushes over, stunned that this human just threw away his life for him. The beast sneers at Rago, telling him dinner is served and that the kid's body will make a delicious feast. Rago's eyes ignite with fury, telling the filthy animal that his death comes at his hands tonight. Turning to Jiro, Rago calls him a selfish, foolish idiot for jumping right back into the fire after Rago ran away to protect him. Knowing Jiro will die in seconds, Rago makes a desperate decision. He considers eating Jiro to restore his own full power, but refuses to let the monster dictate his actions. Rago declares that Jiro will be the host this time. Converting his soul into raw dark energy, Rago merges his life force directly into Jiro's chest to save him. Far off in the forest, Ichika spots black smoke billowing into the sky. Commander Shiba orders all units to return to headquarters immediately. The beast watches in absolute horror as Rago bestows his immense demonic power upon a weak human, and not just any human, but a formidable shinobi warrior. He screams at Rago, asking how he could abandon his own clan for a pathetic human. Jiro blinks, overwhelmed as a dark crest imprints itself right over his wound. Rago's voice echoes inside his mind, telling him to shut up for now so he can explain later. As the beast charges, Jiro moves at blinding speed. Fully fused with Rago, Jiro realizes he must kill the monster himself. Jiro wonders if this will be enough to finish him off, but as Rago surges power through him, Jiro unleashes the terrifying Mortal Star Fist. The punch is so catastrophically powerful it shatters the giant beast completely, ripping it straight in half. Before Jiro can process what just happened, a sharp blade presses against his neck from behind. A girl's voice cold-bloodedly whispers not to utter a single word, or she'll take his head off. Commander Shiba steps out from the shadows, saying he certainly didn't expect things to turn out like this. Jiro assumes they're working with the monsters, but Shiba clarifies they belong to the Espionage Bureau, a secret government intelligence agency. He informs Jiro that he's under arrest, and when Jiro refuses to comply, Ichika instantly knocks him out cold with the butt of her weapon. Shiba sighs, asking why she did that before he was even done talking. Ichika mutters that he was giving her a headache. Shiba commands his squad to rush Jiro to their private medical facility immediately, as the boy has suddenly become their most valuable asset. At the site, two agents stand nervously over the monster's remains, terrified to even touch it. Annoyed by their hesitation, Ichika grabs the corpse by its leg and casually drags it away. Inside his subconscious, Jiro wakes up in an endless white void. He remembers fighting a giant beast, only to spot Rago floating right in front of him like a shadow. Jiro stammers that he's floating like smoke, and Rago smirks that at least he doesn't have a giant hole through his chest. Jiro looks down at his chest in terror, then suddenly snaps awake in a high-tech hospital room. His head is throbbing with pain, hoping it was all just a bad dream, until he checks his chest and sees the dark mark permanently engraved on his skin. Without warning, Ichika appears beside his bed, informing him he's been unconscious for a day and a half. Jiro demands to know who she is and where he is, while Ichika calls her boss to report that the target has finally awakened. Suddenly, Rago's spectral head pops up right above Jiro, complaining that this nurse has terrible bedside manner. Jiro is shocked to see that Ichika can actually see Rago, too. Commander Shiba walks into the room holding a bag of snacks, chuckling as Jiro and Rago bicker loudly with each other. Shiba checks up on Jiro, relieved to see him alive and telling him his athletic build saved him. Shiba then turns to Rago, who gives him the cold shoulder and snaps at him to ask again when he learns some manners. Shiba realizes Rago poses no immediate threat and apologizes to Jiro for the harsh arrest, properly introducing himself and Ichika as special operatives from the Espionage Bureau. Shiba tests Jiro's knowledge, asking if he's ever heard of the Unioban. Jiro reveals he knows about them, the legendary secret agents who served the Shogun's estate long ago. Shiba explains that their allegiance shifted from the Shogun to the modern government, evolving into the elite anti-Mononoke intelligence agency they are today. Their top priority is hunting down hostile Mononoke. While attacks used to be rare, recent outbreaks forced them to step in to protect high-profile figures and investigate rogue threats. Shiba reveals that a secret facility holding Rago's sealed power was recently raided by a Mononoke syndicate, which explains how Rago's energy ended up bound inside Jiro's body. Jiro explains how he found the injured cat and saved him, but Ichika snaps at him for sticking his nose into dangerous business just to save a Mononoke. Jiro fires back, telling her that since she wasn't there, she doesn't get a say. Ichika points out the grim reality. Jiro and Rago are now fused as a single entity. If they can't reverse the bond, they'll remain stuck together forever. Shiba informs Jiro that he'll have to stay under official protective custody because other Mononoke will definitely come to kill him for Rago's power. Jiro refuses to be a prisoner, but Shiba tells him firmly that they aren't superhero cartoon characters obligated to protect his personal freedom, reminding him he has to take responsibility for his actions. Trapped in the hospital room with guards posted outside, Jiro feels completely isolated, worrying about how anxious his granddad must be right now. Rago reminds him that he warned him over and over, but Jiro was too stubborn to listen. They realize the Bureau treats them like dangerous criminals, while rogue Mononoke will relentlessly hunt them down to steal Rago's power. Fed up with being a helpless prisoner, Jiro snaps, declaring that he's doing things his way and busting out of there. He asserts that he's not escaping without giving those people a piece of his mind first. Suddenly, loud screams erupt from the room. When the guards burst through the door, a massive swarm of crows attacks them, allowing Jiro and Rago to make a daring escape. Outside, Jiro thanks his avian allies, handing them the snacks he promised. The head crow squawks that it's always a pleasure helping him before flying off. Instead of fleeing the city, Jiro heads straight back to his home. Rago asks what the plan is, noting that even if Jiro tells his granddad the truth, he'll never believe him. Jiro insists his granddad trusts him, but the moment he steps inside, his grandfather sneaks up right behind him, shouting at him to freeze. Jiro tries to explain the insane situation, but his grandfather grunts, ordering Jiro to follow him with no questions asked. He leads Jiro to an empty baseball field near their home. Out of nowhere, the old man winds up and lands a brutal punch straight to Jiro's face. He roars at Jiro, asking if he has any idea what he's done. It turns out Shiba already called him and explained everything about the Mononoke cat fused to his body. Jiro is stunned, asking how he knows Shiba. His grandfather reveals a shocking secret. He is a former veteran agent of the Espionage Bureau. Rago manifests beside Jiro, remarking that he's never seen an old man so eager to kill his own kin. The grandfather unsheathes his weapon, declaring he won't let the Bureau or the Mononoke use his grandson as a weapon, announcing he's going to end Jiro's life right there and then join him in death. The old man transforms into a relentless killing machine, unleashing a devastating kick that shatters the earth. Rago gasps inside Jiro's mind, asking what in the world his granddad eats. In the blink of an eye, the old man blitzes forward, striking Jiro across the face, crying out that their family mastered every lethal combat style in history to destroy Mononoke and that he can't let Jiro live a life of eternal suffering. Rago instinctively uses his power to form a shield, blocking the grandfather's lethal blow. Shocked, Jiro yells at Rago to stay out of this, reminding him he told him not to come out without permission. Looking at his grandson, the grandfather remembers when Nachi was still alive. It turns out Jiro inherited his rare gift of communicating with animals directly from his grandfather. He recalls a young Jiro climbing a tall tree to rescue a stranded kitten, slipping and falling before his granddad caught him at the last second. Back then, his grandfather told him he had incredible heart and strength, but warned him that his recklessness would be his downfall, urging him to learn to rely on those around him. Back in the present clash, the grandfather stops his attack, realizing Jiro's fierce resolve. Seeing Jiro bickering with Rago like old partners, the old man chuckles softly and withdraws his weapon. And that wraps up part 1 of our story. story, legend. So many incredible battles are right around the corner. What lies ahead for Jiro and Rago? Find out in the next episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss part 2 dropping this Wednesday. Peace out.